Space Channel 5 on the Sega Dreamcast is one of those games that if you've never played it, you go, what is that? The best way to sum it up is a rhythm game where you're a space news reporter trying to stack up the views for your news channel. You do this by stopping these Teletubby-like aliens who are forcing people to dance. Oh, and you stop them by fighting fire with fire. You dance against them, and occasionally shoot at them with your laser pistol. It's just such a bizarre game packed with weird stuff. So let's talk about it. Development began when Sega approached Tetsuya Mitsuguchi, who produced Sega's AM3 arcade machines. Specifically, Sega Rally Championship and Sega Touring Car Championship. They wanted him to make a game that would have a broad appeal and reach out to casual female gamers. What does that mean exactly? Well, he didn't have a clue, so he went out and interviewed several girls to figure it out. It seemed the ones he interviewed liked puzzle games, while male gamers seemed to focus more on ranking and high scores. He wanted to combine these two elements. He thought that would give him that broad appeal Sega was looking for. Evidently, there was also a desire to put polygonal models over a pre-rendered movie background. This gradually evolved into something called musical lip shooting with a character named Noise Takayama, until finally transitioning into what would eventually become Space Channel 5. It seems Mitsuguchi was inspired by musicals and wanted to find a way to make this process interactive. Particularly, he saw the rhythm troupe Stomp, and he was very interested in a specific piece where they would have to copy each other's clapping, and it would get more and more complex over time. The production team was formed with a lot of staff from Team Andromeda, who made the Panzer Dragoon series, and the entire development process was about 2 years. They emphasized physical comedy and exaggerated movements, and the game's main character, Ulala, was inspired by the main character from Barbarella, a science fiction sex comedy from 1968. Gameplay. Players will have to save hostages, shoot Marolians, and dance. The plot of this game centers around Ulala in the year 2499 AD, the last hope of the dying and raiding Space Channel 5. In the hopes of resurrecting this dying channel and get viewership up, the director sends Ulala to report on the current alien invasion. The gameplay, as stated before, is rhythm-based. Ulala will spawn in one level and auto-move until encountering a situation with aliens or other characters. They will then do a series of movements shouting out a direction or the word chew. Chew was meant to be shoot, but it was shortened due to them having to use a single syllable and it being hard to pronounce it that way. So shoot got shortened to chew. Players follow along, and if a Marolian says chew, Ulala will shoot them with her tension blaster by pressing A. If it's a hostage, you press B and it will rescue them. Players will notice a heart system. The game gives you a little slack, but miss a prompt too many times and you will fail. This will restart you all the way at the beginning of the level, which can be very frustrating. You'll also have to fight bosses periodically, where you have to pay close attention, and it will test the limits of your memory and, to be honest, patience. I'm playing this on original Dreamcast hardware, and I found it very difficult. The audio and video can be slightly out of sync, and so at times, even if I hit something perfect, the next sequence I could get slightly off and lose a heart. It's a real shame, but it appears it may have been fixed in other ports, or at least lessened. Every single level of this game is pretty wild and wonky. The game is divided into 4 reports. Report 1, introducing Ulala. Ulala travels through Spaceport 9 and we journey through it, encountering aliens, a rival news reporter, and finally a boss at the launch pad. It's colored vibrantly and each area is distinct. It's a really cool introduction with great animations to the characters. I know some of the animations were motion captured, but a lot of them were apparently hand keyed in, and I think they did a phenomenal job making it fluid and smooth. Report 2, Spaceship SOS. Ulala reports from the luxury spacecraft G. Here she saves hostages, encounters the infamous space pirate Jaguar, who naturally challenges her to a dance-off. In this level, you get to see various areas of this cruiser, including the dining hall and the cockpit, until finally challenging the next boss, Moralina, a dancing robot. Report 3, Catch the Scoop. They discovered the location of the aliens' base in an asteroid belt. We're racing against other reporters into the asteroid belt and battling space pirates along the way. Honestly, this has to be my favorite report of the bunch because it's here where the visuals just go over the top. It gets very psychedelic, and anyone walking by looking at this would be entranced. It also displayed a cool space battle, so that's dope. This culminates in a battle with a weird conjoined alien on a TV screen that pops out and takes us on. And now, Report 4. Evil in the Galaxy revealed. It's revealed that our boss is behind it all. We visit Space Channel 5 headquarters and find all the aliens are actually brainwashed. We progress through the conference room at headquarters, save Space Michael, dance off against an evil robotic version of Ulala, and take on the director, Mr. Blank himself, in a giant robot. And eventually, in an alternate dimension. It's wild and wacky, but hard AF. Now let's get into some weird and cool stuff. Let's start with the elephant in the room, or rather, the Michael. This is probably the weirdest thing in this game, and that's saying something. Michael Jackson, or as he's known in the game as Space Michael, appears in the last report as a hostage to be saved, flaunting some of his iconic dance moves. Evidently, Michael Jackson saw a build of this game at like 60 to 70% completion and requested to be in the game in some way. Ultimately, they let it happen. They animated some of his iconic dance moves and replaced what was an alien before. Michael also voiced the character. He's also seen in Part 2 as the new director of Space Channel 5. Now some facts about Morolians. Apparently, all the Morolians' personalities are reflected based on their colors, with one example being the red ones are angry. If they're shot by Ulala, they don't die. Their souls go back to their home planet, and they live happy lives. In a Space Channel 5 TV commercial, female humans are stated to be the enemies of the species. Also, the entire species appears to be male, but their robots are female. Interesting. This is just speculation. I joked about the Teletubbies thing earlier, but dang if these don't look like characters from Among Us. The theme song of Space Channel 5 is actually a song called Mexican Flyer from 1966. It was originally by Ken Woodman and his Piccadilly Brass. I noticed while playing this game that while the pre-rendered backgrounds can look cool, it can be silly to see these models of characters seemingly walking on nothing or at displaced angles that don't match up with the background. Does this not bother anyone else? It really bothers me, but it doesn't break the game. When it happens though, it's hard to miss. My overall thoughts on Space Channel 5, it's quirky, it's wacky, it doesn't take itself too seriously. At its core, it's a simple rhythm-based game, and although it's very frustrating with out-of-sync cutscenes, I found myself being mesmerized by the backgrounds and creative atmosphere they created. All the characters are funny and filled with charm, and it has multiple versions. The one I played was Dreamcast, but it's been ported to PS2 along with Part 2, a sequel. There's even a VR version, though I have yet to play that. I hear it's fun. I all in all get very frustrated with Space Channel 5 due to its very precise, or rather imprecise timing with inputs. It's not for the faint of heart to dedicate time to this game. If you just want to experience it though and progress the story, there's a cheat for auto mode, which will do everything automatically for you. It's very helpful, and it actually ended up being what I did to complete the game. Trust me when I say, this game is hard. I did like it though. If I had to give a trivial score out of 10, I'd give it a 7. Definitely a cool game to add to your Dreamcast collection. Plus, the case is holographic, which is dope. Well, that's all I have for you. Follow the prompts you see on screen. Left, right, chew, chew. Until next time, have a good one.